All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming to my session. So it is going to be a little interactive. There are parts of it that are going to be interactive. So what we're going to talk about today is Data Divas, what it is in regards to the RSTEM program, and how you can incorporate some of these easy lessons like into your classroom to support the world of data science. So just so that you know a little bit about me, I work at Rice University for the Office of STEM Engagement. I am the Assistant Director for Computer Science and Math. I've been in education for over 13 years. I've taught a variety of different subjects, math, science, and I actually started my career in special education. My commitment is to providing opportunities for our youth that empower and inspire them into the STEM field. And then if you have any questions, like please just drop them into the chat. And like I had mentioned earlier, I'm going to give you guys access to the slides towards the end. Okay, so a little bit about like what RSTEM is if you are in the greater Houston area, that is kind of like who we service. Our goal is we're a branch off of Rice University and we're like the outreach of Rice University. So what we try to do is create student programs and teacher programs, provide professional development opportunities, and we participate in outreach events to the greater Houston area. So we go to schools for like STEM night and things like that. A lot of our teacher programs are actually paid opportunities, and that's actually how I started at RSTEM. I was a participant in one of their math and science collaboration programs. Then I later came back like as like a catalyst, then a facilitator, and then ultimately they hired me on as one of their team members. One thing that I am passionate about is providing opportunities for our female students. And one thing I started this past summer was the program called Data Divas. So what our program goal and kind of expectation was to expose high school students, specifically females, to the world of data science. And what we did is it was like a 4-day camp. It was free. I went to their campus, their school, so that there wouldn't be like a transportation issue trying to get to Rice University. I went to Young Women's Prep, so it's an all-female school, and I discussed to them kind of like about data science, and then also, which I think was like the huge, most important impact, was I had a guest speaker come in every day that was a female professional in the field that looked like our students and our participants. Because I think that it's important for students to see themselves in the field, and by seeing them, meaning that you get to talk with someone that's actually doing something in the world of computer science. And also was huge as far as computer science is so broad. There's lots of different ways you can use that in the field as a career. So the different women had different takes and different career paths. So that was interesting for the students to be able to hear them, see what they're doing, and then ask them questions. The students also participated in projects like that required like authentic data. So, and you'll kind of see a little bit about the different activities that we did. These are also activities that you can easily embed into your classroom regardless kind of the age group. But my focus was making sure that we were using real data. So not made up data, it was authentic. The students were collecting it. And towards the end, on the last day of the program, they were working on like this project throughout the week. And on the last day, they presented to an audience. So we actually had like our sponsors from like HP come in. I had my colleagues come in, and other teachers come in during the summer to listen to these girls' presentations. And so it made it even more impactful because they were working towards a purpose. Okay, so kind of like what is data science? So data science is kind of like this subfield of big data, which kind of means like we're extracting information from raw data, and we're using skills like computational, statistical thinking to kind of interpret and make meaningful decisions. Now, when I try to tell that to like a student, they're like, what does that mean? And so basically for students, it means that we look at data. There's a lot of it. We don't need all of it. So we're going to break down that data, analyze it, and then visually represent the data in a way that kind of makes decisions. I know like when I had gone into the camp, I had expectations that the students like knew how to code or knew what data science was. And then I realized like the first day they were like not there yet. So then I kind of backed up, and you'll see kind of like the progression as we started small. So then I tried to meet them where they were at. And then we talked about data on their level. And then we kind of each day we progressed on a different project that slowly kind of went deeper and dug deeper. And we talked, and they were able to use like their coding skills. Okay, so this is kind of like how I use authentic data science lessons during this camp. And one thing I want to like stress is meeting the kids like where they were. So like I had did a survey before I met the girls of what things that they were interested in, and then I geared my lessons towards their topic. So one thing they all spoke about was like TikTok, Starbucks, and things like that. So we progressed through the lessons based off of their interests. And every day I gave like a feedback survey on how I could improve to be a better facilitator. Was there something they wanted to see more of, something they wanted to see less of? Because I think that by asking their feedback, it's important because then they know like that I'm listening to them and I'm focusing on the students. So we kind of started, the first day was like decoding like TikTok. Then we transferred into like the Starbucks lesson. We talked about the importance of good visualizations and how we can use data science in like college and career making decisions. And our big project was on the Houston Animal Shelter. So we're gonna kind of walk through a little bit about what each of these lessons kind of entailed. And there are some interactive components as well. So with the TikTok one, I had to look up like the most popular TikTok like dance trend, and that's where this video is. It's probably not even accurate right now since this was like May. But what they had to do first was they had to create their own data. So they looked at TikTok and they were looked at a TikTok influencer or a dance trend, and they kind of collected their own data. How many views did that person have? How many shares, likes? Did they have any hashtags? And then an interesting kind of infographic that we found was that the average, now again, this is in 2019, so that might have changed, but that TikTok users spend on average 52 minutes per day on the app. So what we kind of talked about like is that is all data science, because when we're looking at that in like TikTok, like when they are suggesting what video that we're going to like next, or what dance trend that we're going to look at, that's all data that's collecting, and it's learning our behaviors and which ones that we like the most to then kind of pop up the next one. So this kind of gave them took ownership of their own data. So they were able to choose, there was choice. Also, like if they were like, I don't know, I went ahead and gave them also like the top influencers and the top dance trends so they can pick if they didn't have one. Another way that you could do this, because again, I chose TikTok because the students had expressed interest and knowledge in there, but you can do this with YouTube, you can do this with sports, you can do this with any topic. The key is breaking down that barrier of where data science is scary by giving them something relatable and something that they're interested in, and then having them create ownership of it, and by creating the data and then sharing the data. Now, initially, we just kind of shared it in a spreadsheet. So it's very like low stakes. They just provided me the information. We had some students that like went above and beyond and created like their own little infographic from it. So it has like a low stakes, high floor kind of activity. The next kind of activity that we did was we talked about whether or not Starbucks coffee is actually good for you. The thing with Starbucks is they actually, in a lot of restaurants, so again, not just Starbucks, you could look at any like popular fast food restaurant or even restaurants, they give you the nutritional facts. So that data is available online, and you will have access to the data as well in a little bit. So they were able to look at the data and really deep dive in and answer the question, is Starbucks coffee really good for you? And so the students were able to, they had two different versions. They had like a condensed data set, which just had like the calories, the fat, carbs, sodiums. And then they had like an expanded data set that had like everything, calories, total fat, sugars, and had literally all the drinks that Starbucks offered, which if you didn't know, it's a lot. So they were able to like then narrow down their search. Like, so if they were looking at just the cappuccinos, and then they were just going to look at the sugar content of the cappuccinos. So then this again gave them actual data that's real, like real time data, let them explore it, looking for those patterns and trends, and be able to ultimately answer that question, is it good for you? It gave them practice with cleaning up the data. Because if you're looking at data, there are thousands of different rows and columns. You don't really need to know all of that. This is where, since our students had a very lower basic level of coding, they actually were able to use things like ChatGPT, Google Colab to import the Excel spreadsheet, and then ChatGPT to kind of help them debug the codes when they got stuck with it. And on this project, they were actually able to visualize what they found. And interesting, I think one of the things that the girls had discovered was that Starbucks, like just one drink alone, contained 4 times the sugar intake that we're supposed to consume in one day. So that's just one drink. If we consume it, which I feel guilty because here's my Starbucks coffee cup, I already took by 4 times my sugar intake just by that one drink. And then another interesting thing that a student had looked is she saw that, and then they were looking at, okay, what if I did like the low sugar or low fat sugar? Does that make a difference? And then they found that sometimes the calorie of the low fat drinks where it's actually higher than like the sugar. So then it has them just sparking like different scientific questions on what more could they discover and elaborate. I know I was shocked with the Starbucks. And I was like, maybe I should rethink my morning coffee. All right, this is where we're going to get a little interactive. So you'll be able to drop like what you think the answers are like in the chat. So one thing I stress with our camp and with students is logos and brands are important. Okay. It's important because you want the customer to recognize like your brand. And that's why, like, if we just see this golden arch M, most people can tell you that's McDonald's. Same thing with like our G. Like Google has designed their brand and continue to like improve upon it so that we recognize it. Now this one's easy because it gives the name, but does anyone know what this one is? So all the dots, anyone know what brand that is? And I had to do um reverse, like, on your phones, you can like do reverse Google and kind of like look up the image. Because this one I didn't know off the top of my head. So Fitbit is actually like the logo for Fitbit. Yeah. Okay, so here's your challenge. So on the next screen, I'm gonna have like a whole bunch of different logos. So try not to use your device, and just try to drop into the chat as many of the logos that you recognize. And while you're doing this activity, think about, why do you think you recognize this logo? And on the ones that stumped you, why do you think those stumped you? Like, maybe is it because it's not something that you've used in the past or anything like that? How I did this with the girls is I had an envelope with like, I'm a sticker fanatic. So I had gotten, you can actually buy sticker logos. So I put the stickers in the envelopes and had the envelopes around the room. And so they had to put all their cell phones up, and they worked as a trio, and then they went through the different envelopes and they tried to write down as many of the logos as they did. All right, give me like a thumbs up if y'all are ready for the challenge. All right, here we go. So just kind of drop in the chat the names, as many logos as you can identify. I see it. I see some people answering. Good job. I feel like this slide, a lot of us, I can see it thinking Exxon, yeah. I always also start with this, and each of the envelopes always did like one hard one and then like three easy ones. Yeah, I think most of us have it. So let's check to see if we are correct. So we have Instagram, Starbucks, MasterCard, Target, Apple, Shell, Nike, McDonald's. I know MasterCard was like, uh, again, kids might not know this because if they don't have a card, they're not gonna know what a MasterCard is. So I think it's all also about which ones you use more frequently. Is there anyone that stumps anybody? I saw like MasterCard and Shell only because we were some might have mixed up Shell with Exxon. All right, ready for another one? This is I put in a little of challenging ones on this one. Are you ready? Thumbs up if you're ready for the next challenge. All right. Yeah, I threw in some fun ones. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the IDKs are the same ones I had to like um cheat and use the Google Google image or friends and family. Ooh, I see some got it. Yeah, the mint greenish chin one was a it was a curveball as well. I love all the choices coming. All right, let's check to see if I can see where you could think Girl Scouts because it's like looks kind of like cookies, but it's actually I think like it's a drug representative. So here are our options. So Twitter, I had to like cover up the old Twitter because it's not the bird anymore. So I had to update that to the X. Evernote was even one that stumped the kids, and Flipagram. My probably gonna date myself, but when I originally saw Flipagram, I thought it was like those old school cameras, like where it's not really a camera, but you had like it looked just like that, and you put it in this red thing like binoculars, and you'd like skim it, and it would have like pictures of like the Little Mermaid and stuff like that. So that definitely aged me when I was like, oh, nope, not that. It's a new thing. Yes, I think my kids probably have my old one. Then Windows, NBC, LG, John Deere, Domino's, Toyota, Time Warner Cable, PBS, and then the Merck and Co., which I think is like a prescription logo. Okay, and I'm going to drop this bit.ly in, oops, I'm moving it in the chat. You can also type it in or you can scan it. And so what this activity is we talk about the importance of when they create and represent their data, it's important to know that there is a right way to represent it and a bad way. Just like in the sense that like we can't have everything be a bar graph. Like that's just not how we represent data. Same thing as like not everything can just be like a line graph. So depending on what kind of data that you're representing, means which kind of graph that you choose. Now, one thing that I used is this thing called Data Wrapper, which don't have to memorize it just yet because I have a slide for that. But Data Wrapper is amazing because it allows students to input their own data, and then they have a vast opportunity of or options on how they want to represent that data. So like you can put any data in there and you can make it turn into a pie graph, a bar graph, a different type of chart. And that's why you'll see some of the examples, they're like the same data, but it's represented different ways. And that was important to kind of show students like, okay, this is the same data, but it has like 3 different ways to look at it, but they're not all great ways. So when they're creating their visuals and representing their data, this kind of gives them a very visual way of what works and what doesn't work. And the Bitly also makes you have like a forced copy of it. So some ways that I did this in the classroom was I actually physically printed out sets, and they kind of did like a little card sort. If you are pushing this out to a classroom, you could use the Google Slide card sort. I know when I was in the classroom, I used like Schoology. So if I pushed it out that way, I still had access to it. Google Jamboard's another cool way to push out a card sort where you as the educator can still kind of see what they're thinking and what they're doing. But Google Jamboard is eventually going away. And so I didn't want to use that resource today. Any thoughts on this activity? All right. This was the big project that we did at the end. And again, there's data out there, and I'm going to show you some different resources to get authentic data. You don't have to use the Austin Animal Shelter. Again, I chose this because it was animals were interest. And so again, trying to make it relevant for the students that I was working with. And this really showed the kids why coding is important and how it breaks down our tasks easier. So for instance, on May, when we did this project, the Austin Animal Shelter had 152,000 rows of data. Now, for one person to go through all that data, that's a lot. And this was just the intake data. It wasn't even like the outtake, like how many pets were adopted. So this we looked at, again, coming up with what question we were going to look at, and then working with how we could use coding, Python, to kind of help break down that data so that we can actually answer questions. Abby asked a great question. Yes, I do a pre-survey to identify their interest. So we had this camp at the first week in June, right after at the first week of summer. And so I sent out a pre-survey ahead of time that like had them answer questions like what was data science to them, what were like their interests, and even like their favorite clean music song. So when they came to camp, I already had like a playlist that was of appropriate music that they chose. And then I targeted my lessons and activities based off of those like pre-survey results. So that's a great question. And then with this was the project that they actually presented to an authentic audience. I think presenting to an authentic audience also kind of raises the stakes a little bit. It's one thing just to present to me or to their teacher. It's another when they know like the HP who funded the camp is coming back and they're looking to see if their donation was worth it. I had Rice University guest speakers. So all the guest speakers that came throughout the week, they came back to see what the girls had presented. So that like authentic audience is a huge piece. So what they did is they looked at all the data, they decided on a question they wanted to research. Some things were like, were the adoptions happening mostly in the like around the holidays? Because we always have that kind of hear things coming around, especially like right now, like don't just get a dog or a pet for the holidays, because remember, it's like a lifetime commitment. It's not necessarily a gift type thing. So some girls looked at that. Others looked at were certain breeds being adopted out more than other breeds, cats versus dogs. all of those things. So they had freedom as to decide what question they wanted to research. They used Google Python encoding to kind of analyze the data, and then they chose a way to represent it, such things like using Canva, which is like how this presentation was created, Adobe, Google Slides, however they felt the most comfortable in representing their information. Lastly, I was at a young women's prep, and so it was a college preparatory school is where I'd gone to. So they were looking at next steps. A lot of these, one was 100% female. It was also, most of them were first generation college aspiration students. And so we had them use data science. So they collected their own data to kind of help them make their college and career decision. So they thought of like what questions they needed to look at and then where to go to kind of hunt and research to create those data. And then it kind of helped them kind of fine tune. So we showed them college and career program websites, college rankings, government data, student surveys, all of the things that they would need to really make a uniformed decision. And then they kind of created a visual with their findings using a tech tool. So this kind of, this camp was designed for female incoming high school seniors. So this was something that it's on their mind and relevant. Like you have to start applying for things really early. So like October, I think was when like FAFSA was due. And then like a lot of their pre-college applications are coming up due. So this kind of helped them narrow down like their findings and kind of which path they wanted to take. All right, this is like the next two slides are with a wealth of information. And again, I'm going to give you access to this, and all of these are purposely clickable. So that way you don't have to like write down the website. If you click on them, it takes you straight to it. All of these resources I'm showing on the next two pages are free. So these are for teachers, but there are some that students can use as well, like Canva, Data Wrapper, Google Colab, ChatGPT. Those are all things that we used also, the students used as well. UCubed has ideas, tasks, data science, data talks, and lessons already done. It's free. You can click on it, and then you can even type in like a subject. Data talks is really cool because it shows you like an image, and then it asks them questions about it. And so it also talks about how sometimes data is skewed in certain graphs and charts, and why you have to pay attention to like the title, the numbers, and what that data is really talking about. Here are the nutritional data for the Starbucks and the intake and outtake for the shelter. Kaggle is actually where I got the Starbucks data. All Kaggle is like a wealth of data sets. It also has models and even code. So if someone's already written a code to break down a certain data set, the codes are posted. So you can use those to kind of help students decipher like their information. Canva, it's like how I made this presentation. It's a great way for data visualization tools and even for presentation. Data Wrapper was that one that literally converts any data that you have into a multitude of charts, maps, and graphs. Like there were charts and graphs I had no idea even existed, and Data Wrapper has them. So that was like a cool, even for the students to like look at, they're like, wow, I never even knew what that graph was. But then the downside of Data Wrapper though is it converts the data to any graph, whether it's a good graph or not to use for that. So it's kind of like, that's a good stepping or teaching moment. When you use that, like that, just because it made the graph into like a bar graph doesn't mean that it should actually be a bar graph. Magic School is an AI that can assist with, it's a teacher AI that can assist with like lessons and more, like it does a wealth of things. Everify is a great tool for to teach about data science. It has like self-paced lessons, and so when I realized that my girls were struggling with what data science even was, this gave them self-pacing. They were able to like go through the lessons, and even it was interactive, and it even gave them like miniature projects on why data science is important in like sports and businesses, like how to increase like your business. Like, so if you're down on sales, you can look at your data to kind of help build up your business. Google Colab is free. Um, it's kind of like a Jupyter notebook. It uses Python. So we used a lot to import. You can import your data and then use it to kind of code and break down all of your data. ChatGPT, it was a tool to kind of help the students problem solve. So when they were stuck on and didn't have necessarily the knowledge base to debug on their own, they could enter the code error into ChatGPT, and it kind of walked them through what they could do to potentially fix it. Again, when we used it, I even told the students sometimes ChatGPT doesn't know exactly what you're talking about or to attune. So even ChatGPT can be wrong. So it's all about just learning those skills and using those resources. Bootstrap is also a free data science curriculum. They also offer free teacher professional development. Student resources. So again, these are all awesome resources for students to continue their learning outside the classroom. All of them are free. So like machine learning for kids introduces simple machine learning modules through games and projects. Check.io is a kind of a website for coding and programming games. Code Monkey is a fun educational game to kind of learn how to code and learn about data science. Data Games is a website kind of to help develop those math and statistical concepts. Women at NASA. So this has like great information about female NASA employees' careers, and they even have like local events. Code Like a Girl is fun. It's that code.org. So it kind of helps them learn to code and explore different career paths that they can do in the computer science realm. Engineer Girl is a site that kind of offers interviews of other, again, female professionals that are in the field. Because again, I can't stress enough the importance of students being able to see themselves in these pathways. So this is a great way to kind of showcase that. And also offers like quizzes and kind of fun facts and profiles. There's even contest programs and even scholarship opportunities. Coding Girls is another great digital program that offers like courses and workshops to kind of hone in those coding skills. Girls Who Code is also a great resource, and they have programs that I believe are virtual as well as face-to-face, depending on where you're at. Are there any resources that you guys use that maybe aren't listed? Because I know there's like a lot of them. I know Diffit was I think it's called Diffit, I'm gonna type it in, is another cool AI teaching tool. And that has helps you kind of create lessons and build off of, like you can input it and ask it, like input an article and then ask it to like make questions. All right. I got two more. This slide and then one more slide, then we are done. So if you could take a moment to, you can either scan it or I will drop in the tiny URL. But if you could just tell me how I did. It's anonymous. It's mainly for the feedback survey is for me on how I can improve as a presenter. Also, like if there is an open-ended question, so if you're like wanting more information or something specific, you can either put it in the last field, or I'll give you out my contact information too. So I'm more than welcome to answer any questions, anything like that. Right, there's the tiny URL. Also, if you want to stay connected with the RSIM social media, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We're constantly having programs, doing workshops for, again, teachers and students. Some of them are even virtual. Like I run a virtual computer science class during the summer for teachers. And again, like most of our paid, yes, I'm going to share the slides next. Most of our programs are paid. So that when I first started it was like an AMP program. I was like, wait, you're gonna pay me $2,000, give me $100, like 100 hours worth of PD, and give me $500 worth of classroom materials. I was like, what? Why did I not find this sooner? So like, I want to say our computer science one that I run during the summer, it's 6 weeks virtual, and I think you get like $6,000. So our goal as RSTEM is to pay you for your time, but also give you and provide like high quality resources. And then I'm going to wait just one more minute, make sure everybody got this slide, and then I'm going to show you the resource drive. So what I'm going to give you next is a link to my Google Drive. And what it's going to have is going to have like our RSTEM flyer. It's going to have this slideshow so that you, one, will have this information for you guys to kind of click on and explore on your own. So I know, like, as a participant, that's always like my thing is like, I want all those things, but I can't remember everything. So this, you'll have access to it all. So again, I'm going to drop the bit.ly in the chat as well. So you can either scan it, and I kind of took a screenshot of what is in the drive. So I have the information for the data makeover, the Unleashing the Power of TikTok kind of a lesson plan, as well as like some of the resources that I use that you can kind of incorporate that into your classroom as well. I have the resource slides and the interactive like card sort, like if you wanted to use that on your own. And then essentially that is all I have for y'all. I was trying to make sure I ended at 12. So if you have any questions, feel free to either put them in the chat, unmute yourself and ask me directly.
Hello, is this program for teachers only for the Houston area?
If it's a virtual program, it is open to anybody. That's a good question. So like, I know we have like our Switch program, which is our computer science virtual program, that is open to anyone. Now there is like an application process because everything that we do is grant based. So it all depends on programming, on how many like teachers we can accept. Most of our programs are going to open up in January. Like all of our summer stuff is the application is gonna open up in January. So if you stay connected to like our socials, that's where you're going to see the applications come out first. Like currently right now we have 2 programs opening up that are accepting, like, I think through December, which is like our Newts, which is like a kind of like a water treatment kind of program. Like we're actually like looking at project-based learning. It's open up to K-12 teachers. That I think it would have to be face-to-face though. And then another one is biology science teachers. We have a program for them. But my computer science ones, they're in the summer and they're virtual.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes,
I've noticed with middle school girls that it's hard to get them to want to code or take a computer science class. So I was wondering, I know I've worked with middle school girls who are interested in STEM careers, for example, maybe medical field or chemical field. So I was wondering, is there something out there that shows the connection between the field that a girl or a boy is interested in, and how that field can be related to computer science, just to draw in more girls?
I think that I'm gonna go back on my slide. This Engineering Girl website would be a good resource to use because they it showcases like female engineers and kind of interviews them, but it's all like posted. So you can kind of see their pathway on how they got to where they they are. And I think the important like trying to capture especially with middle school, because they're only down to like so many electives if they only can take so many electives. So you're competing with like choir, band, PE, cooking, like culinary classes. So it's all about trying to market like your program to where it's you want to like and drive them in. So it's about maybe like really just marketing and then maybe bringing in people that are showcasing like the engineer girl interviews where they can see that it's attainable and that it's fun and it's just not all about coding. There are some fun aspects to it too, like you can design your own game, you can do lots of things with it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Brittany, the programs that you mentioned for professional development, are they only for public school teachers? Or is it
No,
for,
most of them are any K through 12 educator, whether it's public or private.
okay, okay. Because I do informal where I host camps for kids during breaks. So I was just wondering, is that STEM professional also eligible to participate?
Yes, because even some of our when I'm thinking of like participants, I have like instructional coaches that are in our teacher programs. Because our goal is to provide high quality professional development, and we want the participants to be able to then share that knowledge with someone else, so that our impact is even greater.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, bye guys.